Hello everyone, very warm welcome to ITNS Academy. The topic of today's lecture is glossary and terms. In this particular lecture, we will see some important terms, their definitions, their uses, and many more things related to that particular term. So let us start with our lecture. This is very first part of glossary and terms. So let us see what is included in this particular lecture. Very first term that is used here is adipocyte. Guys, I am discussing only important terms and definitions, other things that we have already discussed in our whole syllabus, that is regenerative medicine. We are not going to repeat all those terms again and again. We will see only important terms that we had not discussed in our lectures. So let us start with adipocyte. This site is a word. If it is used at any place, this means we are talking about the cell. And adipocytes are the cells that are used for the storage of fat. These are fat cells, and these are known as fat cells because they are used for the storage of fat. Remember, this fat is not made by adipocytes. They only work for the storing. Next term is adult stem cell. Although we have discussed a whole chapter on this particular topic, let us see what is this. A brief overview. An undifferentiated cell found in a differentiated tissue. This is a very important point, that this is found in a differentiated tissue, but it is undifferentiated itself. And it can renew itself, and this renewal is with certain limitations. These adult stem cells can also differentiate to yield all the specialized cell types of the tissues from which it originated. Next very important term is allogenic. What does this allogenic means and how it works? So allogenic word defines two or more individuals, or we can say cell lines. What are the cell lines? Cell lines made when we used to culture various kind of cells. If these are cells when we will grow it in a medium, then these cells will generate for many generations. So we can say that these cells are differentiating into a line. So this is known as cell line, and we can use the word allogenic for two kind of cell lines. This is one, and if I made here another cell line, so relation between these two cell lines would be known as allogenic. These are stated to be allogenic to one another when the genus at one or more loci are not identical in sequence in each organism. Next term is amnion. Amnion is the innermost Intrauterine membrane. Intrauterine means this is, if this is our uterus, so this inner membrane would be known as amnion. This is intrauterine membrane around the fetus and the amniotic fluid. You can see that if we talk about the fetus, it will be attached with the uterine wall, something like this, and it will have some fluid filled around the whole fetus. This fluid is known as amniotic fluid, and the membrane that is present around this is known as amniotic membrane or amnion. Next one is anterior visceral endoderm. In short, it is known as AVE. This is a specific tissue structure arising in the early embryo that helps establish the anterior posterior axis of the organism. So we can say that anterior visceral endoderm is responsible for the formation of anterior posterior axis. Anterior axis having mouth part and posterior having anus part. So we can say that this axis is defined by the anterior visceral endoderms. Next term is antigen. I hope you all are familiar with this word very well. Let us see what is antigen. Antigen is a substance, often a protein. Most of the time these antigens are proteins that induces the formation of an antibody. These antigens are responsible for the formation of antibody because when this antigen enters into a host cell, it activates the immune system, and this immune system in response generates antibodies. Antigens are commonly found on the surface of infectious organisms. That is, this antigen is present on the surface of pathogenic microorganisms. It can be also present on transfused blood cells and transplanted organs. Next one is antigen presenting cells. Antigen presenting cell, if we talk about these cells, these are known as APCs in short. These are one of a variety of cells within the body that can process antigen and display them on their surface in a form recognizable by T cells. Let us talk about the process of APCs. If this is a APC, here this is any antigen that came into contact with antigen presenting cell. Antigen presenting cell have the ability to break this large antigen into smaller fragments, and this is known as processing of antigen because this large antigen is break off into smaller fragments. Now this APC presents this antigen, fragmented antigen molecule on their surface, and this is presented with the help of MHC molecule, that is a major histocompatibility complex. This presented antigen in response recognized by the T cell. T cell have receptor that is known as T cell receptor. This is T cell. So T cell recognizes this antigen, binds with it, and after recognition it gives order to B cell. This is B cell, and this B cell further start formation of antibodies. These antibodies are against this particular antigen, and finally this antigen is removed from the body, or we can say it is degraded. So this is the work of antigen presenting cell, that is processing and presentation of antigen. Next term is apoptosis. Apoptosis is genetically programmed cell death. If we talk about the death of the cell, this is of two types, that is, one is apoptosis and the next one is necrosis. Apoptosis is a kind of cell death in which a cell is programmed to death just because of if there is any kind of genetic mutation in DNA, or if there is no proper signaling pathway for the repairing of DNA, so cell undergoes apoptosis. But if there is any kind of injury or any kind of wound on the cell that is not recoverable, then cell undergoes to necrosis. So we can say that apoptosis is a natural cell death, while this necrosis is the death that is induced by any injury. Next one is astrocyte. Astrocyte is one of the large neuroglia cells of the nervous tissues. Autologous transplant. Transplanted tissue derived from the intended recipient of the transplant. Such a transplant helps avoid complications of immune rejection. Next term is axis. Axis is a straight line passing through a spherical body between its two poles. These two poles, the central line of the body or any of its parts. If we talk about the human, it looks something like this. So if we talk about the axis, this axis is a line, as we have studied that it is a straight line passing through body between its two poles. So if we talk about the human body poles, so one pole is this and another pole is this. So the line that is passing through these two poles will known as axis, and this is known as anterior posterior axis because this is our anterior part and this is our posterior part. Here this can also be an axis because these are also two parts, and we can say this is also anterior posterior axis. One we can say dorsal ventral axis. The part that is present on upper side is ventral part, while the part that is present behind is known as dorsal part, and the line joining these two parts is known as dorsal ventral axis. I hope you all understood what is axis. The vertebral column is also known as axis, the central nervous system, an artery that when created immediately divides into a number of branches. Next one is B cells. B cells also known as B lymphocytes. As we have seen in earlier slide that B cells are responsible for the formation of antibodies. This is the main function of these B cells. Each B cell is capable of making one specific antibody. When stimulated by antigen and helper T cells, these B cells mature into plasma cells that secrete large amounts of their specific antibody. If we talk about the B cell, it have the capability to divide into plasma cell and memory cell. This plasma cell differentiates into various kinds of antibodies, while this memory cell have the ability to remember the prior exposure with antigen. Bone marrow transplantation. It is transplantation of bone marrow from one individual to another. Autologous bone marrow transplantation is a process in which a patient's healthy bone marrow is withdrawn and preserved and then injected back into the patient to restore the production of healthy blood and immune cells by the bone marrow. If we talk about the autologous, so this is the process of taking bone marrow, this is bone marrow from this patient and again transplanting it into the same individual. This strategy is often used in patients with certain types of cancer who have undergone radiation therapy or chemotherapy that destroys the bone marrow cells. Next one is bone morphogenic proteins. Proteins that are involved in the formation of embryonic bone. Bone morphogenic proteins operate at several stages in this formation of bone, beginning with the early stages of morphogenesis and continuing to late postnatal life. Bone morphogenic proteins also play a critical role in the development of the central nervous system. Next, small terms, that is cleavage. Cleavage is the process of cell division in the very early embryo before it becomes a blastocyst. Clonality, a line of cell that is genetically identical to the originating cell, in this case a stem cell. Next one term is cluster differentiation or CD. This is cell membrane molecules used to classify leukocytes into subsets. If we talk about the cluster differentiation, if this is a T cell, we know that T cell is of two types, that is Th and Tc cell. Th cell have a marker that is known as CD4 marker, while the Tc cell that have a marker that is known as CD8 marker. The name CD in this marker comes from the cluster differentiation. It is known as cluster differentiation or cluster of differentiation. So I hope you remember this, that what is CD in this marker, that is CD4, CD8, and also we have studied a cell marker on a broad scale, that is CD34. So tell me on which cell this marker is present. Let me tell you, this is present on the hematopoietic stem cells. Colony forming cells. These are groups of cells growing on a solid nutrient surface, with each group being created from the multiplication of an individual cell. Next one, colony stimulating factor. This is diffusible protein that stimulates the proliferation of hematopoietic stem cells. Crypto. Crypto is a transcription factor expressed by pluripotent stem cells and also by early embryos. Coming to our next term, that is decidual cells. This is a cellular matrix that first surrounds an implanted embryo and later occupies most of the endometrium. Next one is dendrite. Dendrite is extension of a nerve cell, typically branched and relatively short, that receives stimuli from other nerve cells. Coming to the next term, that is DNA methylation. DNA methylation is a type of chemical modifications of DNA that regulates gene expression. Next term is ectoderm. Ectoderm is a layer, that is the upper layer outermost of the three primitive germ layers of the embryo, and it gives rise to skin, nerves, and brain. Next term is egg cylinder. This is an asymmetric embryonic structure that helps to determine the body plan of the mouse. Next term is embryoid bodies. Embryoid bodies are clumps of cellular structures that arise when embryonic stem cells are cultured. Embryoid bodies contain tissue from all three of the germ layers, that is endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm. Embryoid bodies are not part of the normal development and occurs only in vitro conditions. Next point is embryonal carcinoma cells. Embryonal carcinoma cells, a type of pluripotent stem cell derived from teratocarcinoma. Embryonic disc. Embryonic disc, a group of cells derived from the inner cell mass of the blastocyst, which later develops into an embryo. The disc consists of three germ layers known as endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm. Next term is epiblast. This epiblast gives rise to the ectoderm and mesoderm. The mesoderm then displaces the hypoblast cells and forms the endodermal cell layer on its inner surface. Next term is epidermal growth factor. This is a protein that stimulates epidermal and various other cells to divide. Next one is Fluorescence activated cell sorting. We have seen that this method is used for the characterization of various kinds of cells. Although we have discussed a brief overview about this FACS technique, now let us see how this technique works. So FACS is a technique that can separate and analyze cells which are labeled with fluorochrome conjugated antibody by their fluorescence and light scattering pattern. If we talk about this fluorescence activated cell sorting, let us see this is our instrument that is responsible for the scattering the light. This light is scattered and these are our cells. Here you can see this is light source. Light is coming from this source continuously and it is going through all these cells. It is spreading to all these cells, but here you can see, let me change the color. This cell is generating this much of light. This cell is generating this much of light, and again you can see this is generating this much of light. Here you can see how these are different. By measuring the length of this light, by measuring the width of this light, we can identify the size of any particular cell type. You can see this cell is scattering this much of light. So we can say the size of cell is something like this. This other cell is scattering a small amount of light. So the cell size again we can identify, and the next one is secreting mm, a more less level of light, so we can say that this is a more short cell. So by this technique we can easily understand the size, and we can also identify the shape of these cells. How we can identify this shape? We can identify this shape by the scattered light. How? Let us see. If we talk about if this is a rod, this is a rod shaped cell, this is a round cell, and this is a square cell. So this cell will scatter lights like rod like, this will scatter light something like spherical, and this will in a square format. So by this method we can identify the shape of the cell. Coming to our next term, that is follistatin. Follistatin is an inhibitory factor produced during embryonic development that affects the growth and differentiation of the pancreas. Next one is gap junction. Gap junction is for communicating cell-cell junctions that allow ions and small molecules to pass from the cytoplasm of one cell to the cytoplasm of the another cell. If we talk about the gap junction, it will look something like this. These are two cells. This is the junction that is present between two cells. This is the cytoplasm present inside the cell. The cytoplasm is present in both these cells. So gap junction is a type of junction that connects the cytoplasm of one cell to the cytoplasm of other cell. So this cytoplasm can be transferred from one cell to another cell directly. This gap junction provides a direct channel or direct link for the transfer of one cytoplasm cell to another cytoplasm cell. So thank you very much guys for watching this session. We have discussed some important terms and definitions. Rest of the terms and definitions we will discuss in our upcoming lecture. So stay connected with ITLS Academy. Thank you very much for watching this session.